Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. I can certainly see myself, but I can't hear myself. I can hear myself, but I can't hear myself, if you know what I mean. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you feel me, man? Good. Let's have a look who we've got. Lizzie, Daniel. Wrong sides of the camera here, mate. Mandy, of course. She was here yesterday. Fantastic. Well, thought I'd jump on and talk rubbish for a while because obviously that's what I do best. Having a bit of a strange day. So I'll have to explain. Obviously, the left-hand side is knackered because of the stroke. My left knee is the one I hurt playing football. I tore the medial ligaments. That was just before lockdown, so it never actually healed with the help of a physio or doctors or anything. So it still feels weak and sore occasionally. My ankle's a bit sore. The rest of the leg feels numb and hypersensitive at the same time, which means walking is exceptionally painful. Doesn't help when you have to go outside for a walk, obviously, but there you go. Yes, I've been feeling a bit weird the last few days. I have been out for a little bit of a wander today. I went through the power, just doesn't matter about the pain barrier, just smash through it, power through. I went all the way to the top of the road and back, which I'm reliably informed is about 600 steps. Are you proud of me? Tell me you're proud of me. Right, Mandy, the chat thing on screen, is it showing up? Is it actually working, all the chat on there though? That's one of the things I tried. If anyone's got a stream that they want to try this on as well, it's called Botrix. There's a brilliant video on how to do it on YouTube, and it shows you exactly what to do, how to set it up. And I was sick of not being able to see the chat. I can see it myself. I've got the pop-out chat that I can see, so I can see what you're saying. Got my phone in front of me, for that little bit of extra latency. But yeah, it looks all right with the chat on screen, doesn't it? I think there's ways of setting it up as well where you get points for like a little league table for the more chat that you put in, the more points you get. So I'm going to have to look into that as well. Botrix, that's it, Daniel. Botrix. You can set up widgets, alerts, and all kinds of things, and the chat is one of them. So I was having a bit of a mess around with that yesterday and thought I'll try it out tonight to see if it works. And by the look of it, it is working. It hasn't got a big, huge box in the way. You can put it wherever you want on top of the screen. I'm quite pleased with that. The audio as well, is it not sounding echoey like last time? One of the problems that I had was OBS, because it takes audio from so many different areas. Occasionally it'll do that thing where it sounds like there's an echo. So I've tried to turn it off on absolutely everything apart from just the mic. Thankfully, I'm not doing reactions or stuff that relies on hearing another part of the computer, so I'm pleased that's working. The camera, I'm delighted with the camera, but I've parked my webcam and ended up getting a Sony A5100, which just seems to be the industry standard for streaming and taking videos and that. Seems to be working quite well. And I've got my lights behind me. These are hair lights or rim lights. I think I prefer hair lights than rim lights because rim lights sounds like something you can get done in Amsterdam salon, and we don't need any of that, do we? So I've got a blue one on me and a red one, and that apparently drags me out of my background. You can see how much of this I've watched on YouTube, can't you? Jesus. It's ridiculous. But yeah, well, there'll be a delay on it getting onto screen, but just the fact that it's turning up there in the first place, I think it's a start. I might have to mess around with some of the settings about the chat being on screen, but at least it's working. Yeah, yes, Lizzie, rim lights, very, very iffy. They're like highlights, but you can stick them up your, no, we won't go there. Yeah, but that's apparently what they are. Got a key light That's a Logitech, isn't it? Logitech Litra. That's my key light. I've got me rim lights round the back. I don't need a fill light. And these two little ones at the back, there's a name for them as well. But we won't go into that. I'm not trying to teach people how to do streams here because I haven't got a clue what I'm doing myself. But, it's a start, isn't it? Tuesday night as well. What a strange night. How do we? Hello, how are you? Hoe gaat het met je? Kirsty as well, and Casper. The whole of Europe is tuned in. We could have a song contest here, couldn't we? Get Spencer to have a look at it. Yeah, Logitech. I've got loads of Logitech stuff. Our work seems to give us lots of Logitech mouse and keyboards and things. We never have any problems with them whatsoever, and the light is brilliant. Just plonked on top of the monitor, and whenever I open any camera on the computer, it automatically comes on, which saves me all the arsing round. I need to find a way of doing it with the camera as well. Louise as well. Oh yeah, loads of people. Happy days. And Steve. Whole gang's in. Fantastic. I hope you know I'm missing an Everton game for this. Deliberately because, well, Everton have been absolutely rubbish and we haven't signed anyone, and I don't fancy watching Bolton 11 million past us tonight, so yeah, swerving that. Even though I am repping the Blues here. I'm looking forward to, hopefully, fingers crossed, on my right hand, obviously not on my left, getting back to the first game of the season, which is the 15th or 16th of August or something. Yeah, it's one of those, it's going to be over 3 years since I last went to a game, and I am starting to get a bit nervous about it, to be honest, but it's got to be done. I've done loads of things this year, loads of little firsts. The first time going out for a walk on my own, the first time going to the supermarket or something, first time being out in crowds. I haven't yet been onto public transport, which I'm still really nervous about. The idea of getting onto a bus and not being able to completely be at ease or feel comfortable in being balanced, even though I'm pretty good at my balance, I'm still worried about it. Same on trains as well, but I'm going to have to do that at some point. My personal independence payment. I don't know if I mentioned this. I had the phone interview with them last Friday, I think it was, or Thursday. And I got a text off them saying, you will hear in the next 8 weeks. So that is now in place. If I get it, I get it. And if I don't, I don't. But at least that's another thing I've done. I can't be accused of not at least doing what people are asking me to do. So getting there. Oh, hello, Mandy. You leveled up to level 1. Botchick's in the chat as well. What's going on here? Is this working, is it? Oh, happy days. I think we might have started something here. So you got to keep on leveling up, man. That's what it's all about. We're in a league situation. Oh, happy days. Proper. Dan obviously is going to be Champions League. If we can get into one of his chats to get him to do this, be like the Champions League or the World Cup, be full of Croatians with really badly sounding names. Yeah, that's right, Liz. At least I'm trying to have a go anyway at applying for PIP. Hopefully, if I get it, I get my blue badge, and I might also be able to see if I can get some money back for all the adaptations that I've had to do for me car, because I needed it and it was money well spent, but it was money I didn't really have. I mean, an extra 1,500 quid on top of a £2.5 car during a, well, don't want to say recession or cost of living crisis, but I'm lucky enough that I've got a half decent job that I can just about get by even with that. But if I can get a bit of cash back, then don't see why I shouldn't. And I would love the blue badge. That means I'd be able to go to Liverpool to go into the office and just park right outside the building, door to door. I wouldn't have all the issues about getting the public transport, which would at the moment involve a 7 mile car journey on a train for half an hour and then having to walk. And I'm not looking forward to that at all. Plus, I might be able to park somewhere near Goodison for the first game of the season. I might be able to really just drive there, walk in, watch the game, let everyone go home and drive home in peace. That would be fantastic. And I would think that the Croatians think our names are awful to pronounce as well. I would think that anyone but the Dutch seems to have a problem with the pronunciation of your name, and I'm sure I'm butchering it as well, but at least I'm trying. It was 1985 that we moved back to England, and not been back since, unfortunately. Otherwise, I wouldn't be this bloody awful at speaking Dutch. Although I've been doing all right on Duolingo. I've been enjoying that as well. Apart from all the silpad and all the turtles that are around. For some reason, Duolingo seems to be absolutely obsessed with turtles, and I don't know why. Turtles, by the way, is Scouse for turtles. Oh, it's a look, Kirsty's levelled up as well. Yeah, the accents and languages, it's a very, very strange thing. So I lived in the Netherlands for 3 years, and I was told that I spoke with quite a heavy Twents accent. And it was when I went to Amsterdam with my mum when I think I was 10. We went for a bit of a touristy trip, just went on the canals on a boat, went here, there and everywhere. And when I was talking to people in obviously absolutely fluent Dutch, they all thought I was from Enschede. When they found out my mum was speaking to me in English, it was like, why are you speaking English? So we are English. They couldn't believe that I was not from Enschede. And I spoke with that really thick Twents dialect, which really did confuse people. The weirdest one, though, was people from Utrecht. To me, they sounded like they were speaking Dutch in a Brummie accent, and that sort of that long, elongated vowel way that a lot of Brummies speak. That to me sounded like people from Utrecht when they were speaking Dutch. It's very, very strange. But yeah, language is great, isn't it? No, Mandy, the Botrix isn't me. The Bot Matrix. I'm not fully into the Matrix to be that heavy on it, but you know. But it's working well, if that's the case. Peace and vibes. Oh yeah, sorry, the occasional peace and vibes will just zoom in there because I had to set up something as a reminder to keep the chat going apparently. And I didn't want to do anything that was too, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Personalised, number plate-ish, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it'll just occasionally throw that out to try and generate more people and try and get them higher and higher up the ladder. Yeah, the different languages, I mean, obviously, as Hadavi says there, the different languages gives you access to more knowledge of what's happening in other countries. Not just the language. Actually being there and being part of that culture, I think, opens up a huge thing inside you. Being able to accept being in someone else's country and knowing that you have to change to fit in with them. Even though that obviously the people in the Netherlands used to sort of bend over backwards for us to make sure that we were brought into this, you know, the way they are. They bring us in, let us know what we needed to do to be part of that part of society. I thought was fantastic, and it's something that's stuck with me ever since. I always try and have that empathy, so that people are coming over here. There's people who are fleeing wars. We were just going somewhere because my dad was a footballer and he was getting paid good money to be there, and yet we were still welcomed with open arms. Well, there's people who are in real need here, so look after them. I think we all should do. Welsh Duolingo, obsessed with parsnips. Mandy, I can imagine that. I don't know why. I wonder, is anyone else doing Duolingo? Is there any other language that's got an obsession with anything? If they have, launch it in the chat because I want to know. Yeah, Ninja Viking. I've got a ninja face mask somewhere that I got the other day. I did put a picture of it in the chat on RDA. I'll have to put that on one of my thumbnails, I think, because I was looking rather ninja-ish. Ninjury. What is it? Is it ninja-ish? Ninjury? I know I've got a bad knee, so that's a bad ninjury. Scouse, yeah, comes from lapscouse, or lobscouse as it's known here. The dish, which is, we got it from all the sailors and all the ships that used to come into the River Mersey. There'd be loads of Norse, Danish, and Northern German sailors, and they'd all have their own version of lapscouse or lobscouse. And that's the reason why we get called scousers, is because of the dish. Because there's so many people cooking it in the city as a way of making not a lot of food go a long way. That it's one of those huge dishes that we still to this day absolutely adore. Norwegian in Duolingo. I don't even know where you'd start with that. That was all of those Scandinavian, Nordic languages. There's little bits of them that I recognise as being Dutch or German or even some English, but then they'll throw in an entire sentence where it may as well be Swahili. Makes no sense. Incredible. Skipper means shipper, and we use skipper as the captain of a ship. I wonder if that's where that comes from as well. Be interesting now. The language, I must admit, English or England as a place in the UK, it's one of the weirdest places on earth. It must be, because of where we are. The language that we have, I mean, Scouse, majority of it will be Irish, Welsh, Lancastrian, Old Lancastrian, and there'll be little bits from here, there, and everywhere. But then if you go to the northeast, Newcastle, because the Vikings were there every 5 minutes, there's loads of stuff that sounds very Scandinavian compared to what we do. If you go down to Cornwall, they speak Cornish, which is a sort of Gaelic language, the same as Gaelic French, Scots Gaelic, and the Irish Gaelic. All those, that big stripe full of lunatic Gaelic people, they all speak that kind of thing. You go to the south of England, sort of Kent, is it, Sussex, you've got the Cinque Ports. There's a lot of French influence. So for such a tiny little place, there's huge influences on the language, which is why I suppose America, they haven't got anything like that. They've got all these Spanish-speaking countries from Mexico downwards, and just Canada above them, but they haven't got that constant, not at war every 5 seconds and having people invading. They haven't got the Romans there. The language is absolutely incredible. 1% of English words are Dutch. You can see that as well, obviously. Just all those countries within Europe, the French were always over here, the Dutch, the Germans, the Scandinavians, just coming over every 5 minutes. If you go to places in Scotland, and especially the islands, Shetlands, the Orkneys, when you hear them speaking English, they sound like they are Swedish or Norwegian. It's got that accent. Even though they are complete native English speakers, a lot of them, you wouldn't think so. Bizarre. But I love language like that, where the influences come from and why our language has got so many completely different ones. It makes no sense, English, does it? It's not got like, I suppose, a Spanish or an Italian, the Latin languages that you know exactly where they come from, and there's not much that's penetrated into their language. With us, just everyone, it's like a proper hodgepodge of all kinds of stuff, which I suppose helps us because it makes the English language so rich. So it makes poetry and music easier to write, I would have thought, when you've got a larger palette. We have indeed been repeatedly invaded, and now we're getting our own back by invading the whole of Europe. Normally, Spain and Greece, with 18 to 30-year-olds getting exceptionally drunk and fighting on the beaches every 5 minutes. Yeah, the illogical nature of English when writing things. It's I do feel sorry for people trying to learn it. I'm sure it's the most difficult language on earth. And you've got things like there, and there. And then bow, trough, or no, OU, GH can all be completely different the way they're pronounced as well. Through. Makes no sense. The famous one with GHOTI is pronounced fish. GH is in trough. O is in women. TI as in nation. What? It's absolutely incredible. But that's English for you. We never do anything normal, do we? There's always got to be some kind of issue with it. Yeah. Peace and vibes, Botrix. I like Botrix. He's a good lad, him. All welcome, Botrix. I was going to say all hail Botrix, but that sounds mental. I wonder if Botrix is related to Asterisk and Obelisk. It's Asterisk, by the way, not or Asterix, not Asterisk. And don't get them too mixed up. And the same as, people in our work. There's a couple of them. And you must know people who do the same thing, who've got specific ways of getting things wrong. Whenever I hear that, just one letter, please put S in front of it. It's specific. Not an ocean. No. I really hate that, getting things wrong that badly. Botrix, maybe Ringo Starr. If he starts doing Thomas the Tank Engine, then we'll know about that, won't we? Toot toot, said Percy. It's been a long, long day. You're going to have an accident. I always preferred Michael Angelis rather than Ringo doing them. Because Michael Angelis used to do this thing where his voice would go up dead high and then it'd come down dead low for no apparent reason, you know. But you never thought you'd be getting Thomas the Tank Engine impressions, did you? All I need to do now is start doing tap dancing, and I'll be the next all-rounder, the next Bruce Forsyth. Lizzie, I'm sure there's plenty of things where you miss out a letter. Right, again, we've got lots of American friends. I'm not going to start digging them out, but if you can do us a favour, any of you Americans out there, can you just please explain to your fellow people that there's no X in the word especially. It's not especially, and it's not one or two people doing this. It's about 99% of people I've seen on YouTube who are American always say especially, and it really grips my shite, has to be said. Just, if you're going to start doing that, just go for it and start saying specifically instead of specifically as well. May as well go all in. Throw the cards right in there. Is that the one, is it, Lizzie? Especially. I remember that, especially for you. Oh, it's absolutely. Louise, I know. I wish I couldn't care about how people say things, but there are times where it just hits me, and I can feel my spine start to shiver. And we won't get into Craig or Graham. I'm not having to go with them. I'm not digging Americans out because they're our mates. Especially Dan. But you know, language is language. It's there to be amended and changed over the years, and you never know. In 100, 200 years' time, especially might be in the dictionary, as might Pacific, for those specific reasons. I'd like to rewrite the dictionary myself as well with real, proper, intense rules. Just tell people straight, this is how you do it, and if you don't do it, you're in trouble. Oh, and again, may as well have a go at Europe now that I go with the Americans. When I do eventually become Supreme Emperor of the Intergalactic Universe, I am getting rid of het and de from the Dutch language, die, der and das from the German language, L and la in Spanish, and any other one where you've got the word the has got 27 different ways of saying it, and it's all going to be de, just de. That's the Scouse word for the, as in I'm going down to the market, I'm getting on the train, de, it'll all work. Espresso, Casper, yes, you are 100% right. Espresso is another one. It's just, I don't know, it's feel like getting punched in the stomach when I hear people say it. So you're doing it deliberately, or can't you read? Oh man, I don't even know where to go with the likes of Finnish and all those other languages. Some crazy stuff. Who else has got them? France is just le and la, isn't it? Just pick one. Doesn't really matter. Is a table, is it male or female? Doesn't matter. Just the table, isn't it? Not la table or le table. Just a bleeding table. Or is that just too simple? Does it matter? Why am I getting annoyed? There's that many things going on in the world that you should be getting annoyed about. Why are you getting annoyed over language? Because I'm an idiot. That's why, obviously. Did anyone else speak any languages on here? Any random ones? I did German when I was at school because I could speak quite a lot of it when we lived in the Netherlands. So I just did that as an extra GCSE and absolutely hammered it. Did 2 years in 1 year. Got an A because it was just so easy. My German teacher was a Scotsman who was married to a French woman, and his actual subject that he taught was French, but he just did German because, I don't know, it was handy to have another language there to teach people. Spanish, I could do that. I did that as well in school. So at one point, I was fluent in Dutch, almost fluent in German, conversational in Spanish, and I could speak a little bit of English as well. English, German, and Limburgish. See, I don't believe Limburgish is an actual language. I reckon that people who say they can speak it are all part of some society, and they're just taking the mickey out of us. There's not enough people in Limburg to be able to speak Limburgish, or is Limburgish just that cover Limburg and sort of parts of Belgium and Luxembourg and Germany as well? Is it like Alsace, Alsatian? Male tables and female tables. As long as the chair fits in. No, hang on. Different thing altogether. Steve, you don't struggle with English, mate. I can understand every word you say. People listening to me, on the other hand, might struggle slightly. And to be honest, I don't speak with even close to as thick an accent as I used to do. Almost 20 years of working in the civil service and having to be fairly well spoken tends to do that to you. Plus, I haven't really been back in Liverpool for the last 3 years because of COVID and everything, and it tends to just wear away slightly. So no doubt I'll be getting called all the Tories under the sun when I go back into work because I live in Southport. It's the only Tory MP in the whole of Merseyside. Lizzie, it was exceptionally thick before. I've got a strange relationship with Liverpool and the accent. I was born in Liverpool. I was born in the same hospital as my mum and dad, in Sefton General Hospital on Smithdown Road in Toxteth. If anyone wants to go there, it's now an Asda. I think if you have a look, there'll be the blue plaque will be in the bread aisle where I was born. But I didn't live actually in the city until I was 12 when we moved back from the Netherlands. We used to come back every weekend when my dad was playing for Wrexham, and every other weekend when he was at Middlesbrough. And of course, the summers and Christmas, we'd end up back in Liverpool. And then when we moved to the Netherlands, it was more difficult to get home, so we'd be home for Christmas and the summer. So I was still hanging around with Scouse mates all the time, so my accent was okay, but not ridiculously thick. Then when I went to school in 1985, right in the middle of a city centre comprehensive, or a city comprehensive school, which was fairly rough and full of people who spoke with exceptionally thick accents. It had a tendency to rub off on me slightly, and my more natural, I suppose, accent came out. But then I've lived in Southport for 32 years, and then I've been still going home every couple of days back then, and then working there for 20 years. The accent's still there, but trust me, it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. I do sound understandable to some people nowadays, which I didn't at times. I don't speak with the slang as much either. If you come to the city and you hear two people talking, it's sort of, a lot of it is scattergun and it's slang and it's words deliberately invented and used so that other people can't understand what's going on in conversations, I suppose. And I suppose there'll be the same thing if you go anywhere in the country. There'll be pockets of people that will speak in such a way that it's just absolutely indecipherable. Newcastle can be like that. I've got loads of mates from up there, and I've worked there quite a lot with colleagues who had to go and train people up there, so we've spent a good period of time going out for a pint and everything. And there's times where it's almost indecipherable. And I lived in Middlesbrough for 5 years, which is not that far away. Can Botrix put people in timeout? Let's not try that one, eh? Stay nice. He was a huge lad, he was great him. And despite the fact that Bernard Hill's a mank, I thought he'd done a great job on the accent. You ever go back and watch that series, Boys in the Black Stuff? And if Dan's still in, it might be something to possibly look at for the future. If you have a look at it, I remember Liverpool when it was like that. It was recorded early 80s. And I remember the green and cream buses. And I remember the Albert Dock being silted up and being derelict. And it was left to go to rack and ruin. And Thatcher put us into managed decline, which is why Scousers absolutely despise that woman and the Conservative Party. And why you get this thing about being Scouse, not English, is because when the country turns its back on you, you turn your back on the country in return. And then we've had Hillsborough and the whole thing about the cover-ups and the government behind it and the press, the Sun, people like that. We absolutely despise them. So if you're ever wondering why there's the whole thing about being Scouse, not English, it's because of that. And when you have a look at the Albert Dock now, it's absolutely stunning, glorious. All that money that was given to us to do the place up came from Europe. And if you watch I forget which episode it was of Boys in the Black Stuff, they go down to the Albert Dock and you can see the place, and it looks an absolute disgrace. And the fact that it was ever let get to that stage is beyond me. Now it's one of the most visited tourist sites in the UK. We get that many people going there. Whoever turns up in Liverpool just has to go there at least once to go and have a walk down the front. They'll go and see the Beatles museums, the Maritime Museum, the art galleries. It's stunning. We've had plenty of nights out there with work. We've had Christmas nights out there. It's not just shops. There's loads of good restaurants and bars there. To think that was left to go to rack and ruin. And when you look back at it and watch Boys in the Black Stuff, it comes as a bit of a shock. It did to me because I remembered the way it was, but I'd forgotten about it. And I watched that Boys in the Black Stuff episode a couple of years ago, I think, and I was shocked by the fact that I'd forgotten how bad it was. So we need Albert and Dock, yeah. Richard and Judy. Before Richard and Judy moved in there, it was silted up completely. There was no water. There was no map. There was smashed glass. There was bricks coming out the side of the walls and everything. Probably rats everywhere. It was just left to go to absolute rack and ruin. Horrible. Um, and obviously that money came in from Europe, and they've done it up, and the place is absolutely fantastic. The whole area, Liverpool won. Again, more European money shows you if you put money somewhere and there's a bit of vision behind what they're doing, you can really turn things around. Because the city, it did, even when I was a teenager, sort of mid to late 80s, it still looked grimy and dirty, and it wasn't particularly nice. We'd go and watch gigs at the Royal Court, and to be honest, you were looking at getting home as quickly as possible, getting out of the city. Didn't want to be hanging around. Whereas now, people go, and if you ever turn up, especially when Liverpool are playing, of a weekend, it's just the amount of Norwegians that turn up. It's ridiculous. The whole town is absolutely buzzing. All the bars are full, all the restaurants are full. The amount of money that's coming through the place because someone saw the fact that there could be an opportunity to turn the fortunes around. There must be other places like this. Places like Middlesbrough. Again, we live there. If you speak to anyone who's never really been to Middlesbrough, what it's like, they will tell you the same thing. It's just chemical works, and it's grimy and horrible, and it's poor and run down. Parts of it are. Parts of it are also absolutely stunning. Where we lived, it was fairly nice. It wasn't the best place, but it was nice. It wasn't like Yarm and all the places where the footballers live now, where they've got multi-million-pound mansions. But it was a nice area. It was nice and quiet, very clean, good families. We used to go to a place like Rosebery Topping, which is I actually thought it looked like Mount Everest. It's not. It's a hill, not a mountain. But it gets snow on the top when it's cold. But then the whole of the northeast gets snow everywhere when it's cold. But it looked fantastic, and it's gorgeous, and it's on the doorstep of the Yorkshire Dales, the North Yorkshire Moors. If you watch Mortimer and Whitehouse go fishing, they did an episode where they were in fishing on the River Tees, and Bob was going around showing Paul Whitehouse where he lived and what the area that he lived in looked like. And it's lovely, but it always gets a bad reputation. But that's still a place where if you spent a bit of money on the place, they could turn it around even more. And we wouldn't always be talking about places like Middlesbrough or, I don't know, Burnley, some of the more, or slightly more impoverished places where they could just do with a hand up and a bit of a helping hand to turn things around. This could be done, but we need to get rid of these gobshites. Louise, the Cavern Club, it's not the original Cavern Club because, again, Liverpool Council being absolutely insane, decided to fill in the original Cavern Club with bricks and concrete and things, and turn it into a car park. So that used to be on the other side of the road where the Cavern Club is now. It's still all part of the same network, so it's still sort of the same place, but it's over the road from where the original used to be. My mates used to be in bands. They played in the Cavern quite a lot. So I used to be in there plenty of times. This is before I started playing football with John McNally from the Searchers. Ended up being mates with 60s music legends who were telling us stories all the time. I used to love that. Whenever John mentions John and Paul, doesn't need to put surnames on them. I know exactly who they are. It's great. But yeah, the amount of things that we could have smashed to bits, that history, some of it was kept, thankfully. Eric's, which is another place just opposite where the Cavern is now. That was a club that was, especially during the 80s, had some of the best contemporary music at the time. Things like the Crucial Three, Big in Japan, Yazoo, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. All those bands would have played there. Now that could have been smashed down to pieces, but they never. I think they reopened it. and they're having bands playing there again. It's good to see. I mean, the likes of Strawberry Field, there's no way on earth they could have done anything with that because it's so old. I mean, that Strawberry Field, I feel like I need to explain this to some people as well. We don't necessarily take the Beatles for granted in Liverpool, but we do. It's just they're there. You know what I mean? Strawberry Field is a place that I used to go around on my bike all the time because I'm from the south end of the city. I went to school just around the corner from Paul McCartney's home where he grew up. I used to go to Penny Lane Records to go and buy all my new music, which is obviously on Penny Lane. So for us, it's not, you know, behind the shelter in the middle of a roundabout. It's, can you get your car out the way, mate? I need to go down the road there. I want to buy the new Lars album. We do sort of take it for granted, but I'll be up and down past Menlove Avenue, past John Lennon's house all the time. I didn't stop and take pictures of it, the same as Strawberry Field, because it's just somewhere where I lived. And I think we possibly overdo it in the city now where everything seems to have a Beatles sticker on it. You know, it's just, they realise they can make money on it, so they have to. But we're quite lucky that we've also kept quite a lot of that intact, that we can do that with it. It needs, I think people all over the UK, all over the world, to be honest, need to have a good think before they start making huge decisions. What history are you getting rid of by doing something? I mean, one of the big ones that we've got at the moment is that, whatever it is, is it a bypass? Do you call it a bypass? Under Stonehenge. They're going to build a road under Stonehenge to take, I don't know, was it 20 minutes off a journey past one of the most historical sites on earth. Why? Why do you need to do that? Obviously, someone needs to do it because they get money in their pocket. But, you know, you need to start thinking about this stuff. Because if you go under there and the whole thing collapses, that's it. Stonehenge is gone. Once you've done it, you can't bring it back. Same with the animals. Same with the ice caps, all this stuff. Turn into David Attenborough here, haven't I? Or Swampy. Solidarity and mind, peace and vibes. Let's get out there and start throwing orange paint everywhere. Yeah, we've got to be really careful. Stonehenge is I've never actually been to Stonehenge. I've been past there once. I went to my mate's house where he lived on he was in the army. He lived on Salisbury Plain in one of the army houses. We had to go there to go and pick some stuff up to take back to Southport. So we drove past Stonehenge, and that was it. That's as close as I've been. I didn't even see Woodhenge, which I would have loved to have seen. I didn't realise there was a Woodhenge till we went past there, and then I've seen something on it recently on BBC4, I think it was, and the story behind it is absolutely incredible. It was like an artist's sketch before they did the proper painting of Stonehenge. It's amazing, all this history of little henges everywhere. Yeah, ancient solstice monuments. Obviously, the sun always hits the same spot. There's places in Brian Cox, Wonders of the Universe, did a brilliant thing where you can tell the time on some building or set of buildings somewhere. I think it might have been in Africa, and it's amazing. Doesn't matter when it is, what year, whether it was back then or whether it's now. When you go and stand in that same spot, you can tell exactly what time it is or what part of the year it is based on where the sun is. You know, it's like a clock, vertical clock. It's absolutely amazing how these people knew these things before science had hit a level that it has now is beyond me. And even more is how people are so stupid now. Flat earthers and climate change denialists. Just, you need to watch the news at the moment to see how the climate is changing. It's changing before our eyes. Mental. Steve, it may well be aliens. You never know. I think aliens get blamed for everything in this country. But unfortunately, it's illegal aliens who get blamed for everything. You know, the ones who come in by boats, because they're running away from bombs with "Made in Britain" written on them. But, you know, there's a wooden henge. Europe must be full of henges. It's the same people, really, isn't it? You know, the whole of Europe is it's one massive people who are at the same kind of level, I would have thought. That's why there's stone circles all over Europe. I want to go to, again, I don't know if it's Shetlands or Orkneys. There's a really old stone circle there. I think I've seen Coast might have done it, Neil Oliver, before he went all GB mental as well. He went there and watched it and had a look around, and it looked fantastic. Plus, I love Scotland. I've only ever been there once. Why? Isn't that stupid? One of the most beautiful countries on earth. I've only been once. That train journey, wow. When we're going through Carlisle and getting up towards Gretna and going through the borders, absolutely stunning. You'd think at times, you were in northern Canada or something. Just absolutely incredible. And Glasgow, fantastic. I've been lucky with work. I had to do a little bit of work in Newcastle. Spent a couple of weeks in Belfast, and then I had me a couple of nights in Glasgow. And being from Liverpool, I would have to say, Liverpool, Newcastle, Glasgow and Belfast are just the same. Slightly different accents, same people. They're all shipbuilding or maritime areas. So you end up with the same kind of people. It's a tough environment to grow up in any of those cities, but you grow up with a good sense of humour. Normally, you grow up knowing right from wrong and knowing to look after people around you and the people who are not as well off as you. And I just found it so easy to be in those places. It felt like being back home. Belfast, I absolutely adore. Remember the first day we turned up at the building, civil service, government building, and one of the fellas who was meeting us the first day we got there said, "Ah, yeah," and pointed over the road. He said, "That's the Europa Hotel. That's the most bombed hotel in Europe. Welcome to Belfast." Cheers for that, mate. And then I got back in the hotel that night, and when I looked on the map of what was around the hotel, I saw the Falls Road, the Divis Flats, the Shankill Road. These are all places that I'd seen on the news in the 70s and 80s, of places where bombs are going off and there's police getting attacked and petrol bombs getting thrown. And they were just around the corner from the hotel. But we needn't have worried. The place was fantastic. The people are absolutely amazing. One of the people that we saw that we were training said to us, "We get on well with everyone apart from each other." And I think that summed that place up perfectly. If you ever get a chance, go to Belfast. It is fantastic. You will love it. Trust me, you will love it. Oh, who's leaving? I've missed. Oh, night, Steve. Cheers for coming in, mate. Appreciate that. Yeah, Glasgow. We went there for. I did a job in our place where my team was all over the UK. There's a few of us in Liverpool. I think there was 2 or 3 in London. There was Ipswich, Brighton, here, there, and everywhere, and we ended up having to meet in different places constantly for 2-day meetings. So we had one in Glasgow, and it coincided with our Christmas night out. So it was great. We had 2 days of real good work up there, but a night out, and I absolutely loved it. What a great city Glasgow is. And being able to get off at Glasgow Central and walk out and seeing George's Square, and just straight away seeing Still Game, the sitcom, I'm thinking that's where they were. They were in this station, they were in there. All this was filmed here. It's fantastic. So again, I want to go back to Glasgow. I want to go to Edinburgh. Obviously, I've never been there. I want to do the North Coast 500 as well. Yeah, Newcastle. I didn't really get to see too much of that apart from getting on the metro, going to where the buildings were, and having a couple of pints at night. But even that on the train, Newcastle, going through Durham, all lovely places. And we can't let Wales go as well. Wales is fantastic. Even though I was only young when we lived there, North Wales, we've been back quite a lot over the years, and I just think it's absolutely fantastic again. Go there if you can. So I did know, me and the ex-wife used to go there all the time. Great idea. We live in a seaside town. Let's go to a seaside town to be by the seaside. We live in one. Oh, let's go there. All right. But loved it. Not been back since. And it's not that far to get to, and there's trains that go directly to Chester on the Liverpool line, so the connection's pretty easy to get to. But if you go and have a look at Snowdonia, you can see it from where I am on a good day. You can see it from Liverpool. You used to be able to see the North Wales mountains from my classroom, bizarrely. That's when your mind starts wandering, when you can't be bothered doing fractions or whatever stupid bloody lesson it was, geography. You're looking outside thinking, geography, we should be out there seeing geography, should be looking at these mountains there. Louise, you should go to Scotland if you get a chance. And Kirsty, you definitely should if your dad was from Govan. Quite a few mates were from Scotland. And probably the same as Scousers, they will tell you how good their home city is. But they always seem to be in a rush to leave. But to be honest with you, they are great places. Peace and vibes, Botrix. Peace and vibes, man. I like him, he's a good lad. He's good people. Yeah, who doesn't like dragons? Good point. I mean, the Union Jack or Union flag, it hasn't got any Welsh on it at all. I'd be happier if they just put a massive dragon on the front of that, it'd look so much better. Or alternatively, just have the flag as purple or something. Get rid of it completely. But yeah, we need more dragons. Never been to South Wales or Mid Wales, only ever North. There's loads of places I've not been to and I should do. Norfolk, I mean, Steve's gone now, but watching Lovejoy, I'm seeing all the stuff that was filmed around East Anglia. The place looks absolutely incredible. It's a hell of a journey to get to from here, but it's one I should do one day. I know I've never been to an away game there, but all my mates used to go to every away game. Used to say that playing Norwich or Ipswich before they started building slightly better roads used to be the worst away games on earth, because you get there and back and it'd take you 20 odd hours. You could fly to America and back in the time it takes to get to Norwich and back to Liverpool. Incredible. Yes, Lizzie. Do you know what? I've only ever seen it on TV and things, like I say, Norfolk, but it looks absolutely stunning. It also looks as though it is part of the Netherlands that's just flown off. It's flat. I know it was connected at one point, but it does look more Netherlands than it does UK. Which is no bad thing for farming, obviously. That's huge around there. But it does look absolutely incredible. Just don't understand why it's so difficult to get to. Considering the UK is a small country, England in itself is a small country, it's ridiculous how long it takes to get anywhere. I know, who was it? It was some idiot. Some idiot journalist had to go from Leeds to Bristol. Don't know if it's Dan Hannon, it was one of them. And just to prove a point, he flew from Leeds to Dublin, had a day out in Dublin, had something to eat, had a tour of the Guinness factory, had his 3 pints of Guinness, and flew from Dublin to Bristol. And it was cheaper to do that than to get a train from Leeds to Bristol. And of course, the CO2 comparisons must be through the roof. But to prove his point, I thought it was right. train travel in this country is ridiculous and probably stops people getting around and seeing places they should do. And the infrastructure is bloody awful. How can it be that? How can it take that long to get from Liverpool to Norwich? It's not a million miles away. It is literally just there to there, isn't it? I've seen it on the map. It's only about that big. Yeah, load more roads since you left, Lizzie. There's a few people who've said the same thing. A few lads have said there was one particular either bypass or there was a new road that was made. That once you got to a certain point, it used to be little farm tracks, or it felt like little farm tracks and a massive coach full of people. Now at least there's a dual carriageway, so it's a little bit easier to get to Norwich and Ipswich. But it shouldn't be that difficult. Although I suppose if it is that difficult for people to get to, you haven't got people just turning up in massive cars constantly for no reason other than I want to drive there. Keeps it a nice, a bit quieter. Ah, Susan, didn't see you there. Welcome, welcome. I mean, I was talking about the Beatles earlier as well. You'd love that. Ah, Casper, yeah, a ferry, Esbjerg to Harwich. My dad played. I don't know where he got his ferry from, but they went to Esbjerg, and I think they played a pre-season tournament. I think he played in Norway, northern Norway, within the Arctic Circle. Um, Playing football, and there's the Northern Lights and all kinds of weird stuff going on, or permanent daytime, and or just he was telling me something. He's been here, there, and everywhere. Did a couple of things like that where it was just strange, really strange situation. And my mate went to Iceland and did the half marathon, the land of the midnight sun. Iceland is definitely somewhere I want to go to. Tromso it might have been actually. Yeah, I know it's ridiculously far north, isn't it? Normally, a football matches you're chasing dogs off the pitch, not polar bears, but he seemed to enjoy it. He went somewhere else as well. He definitely went to Sweden. Because I know when he went there, Alan Ball, who played for Everton, his dad was over there, Alan Ball Senior, and he was telling them how expensive alcohol was. So all the lads, all the footballers, give them the duty free because it was that expensive, and they got it cheap. There you go, get a hold of that. Stock yourself up, mate. Don't think things have changed really, have they? But places like that, I didn't realise. Is it Edinburgh? I think it might be Edinburgh. Is on the same line of latitude as Oslo. That's how far north we are in the United Kingdom, which is why during the summer, it was 10:30, 11 o'clock. It still seems sort of daylightish. It's crazy. Also means during the winter, of course, 3:30, pitch black. But Iceland's only up there, up north, not that far away, and you can get planes from John Lennon Airport now. So I really, at some point, should make a concerted effort to go and visit Iceland, or just go and fly and do that in search of the Northern Lights thing that they do. I'd love to go there. It looks fantastic. One day, I want to go. It looks a crazy place, Iceland. That land of ice and fire. I was watching something on it. Was it last night? Earth. It was, wasn't it, with Chris Packham? He was in Iceland, and it looks. It doesn't look normal. It looks prehistoric. It looks alive. It looks like it's. This is what the Earth looked like before we turned up. Just be careful because it'll go back like this at some point as well. That idea of being out in the absolutely ice cold, freezing cold, but being red hot in the water at the same time. Who doesn't want to do that? I do. Kirsty, you've leveled up to level 2. Well done. Who else is leveled up? Is anyone else leveled up? Who's the highest level? How do I find out who's the highest level? Have I got a league stat somewhere? I need to check that out. Iceland should scare us. Like I say, that's the way the world used to be before we started getting our grubby little mitts all over it, and it's the way that the world will be as well at some point. It will freeze to bits, it will be full of volcanic activity. We won't survive. There might be things in the ocean that do. We won't be around forever. So I think we should enjoy things while we can. Whether that's Iceland, whether it's going to Norfolk, Scotland, whether it's going to Stonehenge and seeing it before it collapses into a heap like prehistoric Jenga, because it will happen. You know what these idiots are like? They're trying to dig underneath it. It'll collapse in somewhere, and then they'll use it as footings. I do hear number 2 as well. Good stuff. Peace and vibes, Votrix. Peace and vibes, man. Yeah, man. Now I need to find out what levels people are at. Where do I find it, Votrix? Where do I find this thing, man? Are you still there? And does it continue? I need to ask that question, don't I? Do I need to keep that? Or does it automatically carry on to the next stream? Or is it just like is tonight a knockout, whoever wins goes through to the next round? I don't know. I came in here with no questions and I'm leaving with loads. That's going to be one of them. I'm going to be on YouTube later. How does Botrix work? Who wins? If someone does win, do I need to give them something? I thought the dead cat off me, me little mics. I'll give you the dead cat for a spare one. Or I could draw you a little picture, a little stick picture. Stick drawing picture, rather. Am I related to Botrix? You never know, do you? Nix and Botrix. Wasn't he a Gallic warrior when I was versing the Atrix, wasn't he? Why do I know these things? Björk. Björk's got there's a film on, not on Amazon Prime, it's on the British Film Institute, sort of part of that site, that she was in. And apparently she was brilliant in it, and I haven't got round to watching it yet, but she is very weird in a good way. I like Björk. I thought she was brilliant with the sugar cubes. But yeah, we need more Björks in the world. Less Berks, more Björks. In fact, I might put some of her music on soon. Is there nothing? I haven't got anything here, have I, that tells me whether or not you continue? Why didn't it tell you these things? If this carries on forever, it'll be fantastic. This league table. I need to find it and do a screenshot and throw it in the RDA chat, I think, whoever's won tonight. But oh, we are. We're past 10 o'clock. So I will give you your time back, because otherwise I could be here all night, couldn't I, talking absolute rubbish, and none of us want that. Don't forget on the way out to hit the like, because if you do, something happens. I don't know. Botrix might buy me a present. I don't know. None of us know Botrix. He might be that kind of guy. He might be a swell kind of guy. Thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully I might be able to do this again at some point when I've got something to actually talk about that's not just utter rubbish. I doubt it, but we'll have a look. Good night to all of you who are going to sleep, and hopefully I will see you in the next, what did I call it? Potato Ninja outing. Thank you and goodbye. Now I've got to get all the way up there and end the stream. Let's see if this works.